After 15 years of building the algorithm that made her company billions, Dr. Kira Jennings was unceremoniously fired. What they didn't know was that she held the true power: the patent. What began as corporate betrayal spiraled into a brilliant takedown, a career rebirth, and a legacy that would shake the tech industry to its core. Dr. Kira Jennings adjusted the collar of her tailored blazer as she stepped into the nondescript conference room. The air was stifling, thick with unsaid things. Across from her sat Marjorie Thompson, VP of Research, flanked by Denise from our. Their expressions were the usual blend of sanitized empathy and rigid professionalism. Kira, after 15 years with Tech Vantage, we're restructuring your position, Marjorie began, her tone almost chipper, as if announcing a new team-building initiative instead of delivering a corporate guillotine. Kira simply nodded. The company is moving in a new direction, Denise chimed in, sliding a manila folder across the table. Her voice was softer, rehearsed. Your contributions have been valuable, but we're consolidating the research division under the product development team. Kira accepted the folder without glancing at it. She already knew what was inside: a standard severance package, 2 weeks' pay for every year of service, 3 months of health coverage, career counseling referrals she would never use. I completely understand, she replied evenly, her voice giving nothing away. Both women visibly relaxed. No tears, no raised voice, no public scene from a 55-year-old woman being pushed out of an industry obsessed with youth and novelty. But what they didn't know was that Kira had seen this coming. A month ago, a misdirected internally mail thread had landed in her inbox. It included a strategy memo outlining a plan to phase her out while quietly filing for a patent on the distributed processing algorithm she had developed, the very foundation of Tech Vantage's flagship software, AccountSphere. Her name wasn't mentioned once. What the company hadn't realized was that the original algorithm was just the beginning. She had been working on a significantly more efficient version of it on her own time, using personal equipment and documenting every step with meticulous precision. Her version improved performance by 43% and was not covered by her employment agreement. The patent for this version was already approved, under her name alone, and thanks to Gregory Sullivan, CEO of Precision Systems, Tech Vantage's largest competitor, she had a signed licensing deal and a new position waiting for her: Chief Innovation Officer, 7-figure signing bonus, equity, royalties, and positions for all 6 engineers she had mentored. We'd like you to clean out your desk by Friday, Marjorie continued. We'll need your key card, company laptop, and phone before you leave. Of course, Kira said smoothly. Is there anything else? Her composure took them aback. Marjorie recovered. First, that's all. Thank you for making this professional. As Kira walked back to her office, she passed the glass-walled executive conference room. Inside, she could see Victor Lawson, the CEO, gesturing animatedly at a PowerPoint titled Q3 Revenue Projections. The same Victor who had taken credit for her algorithm during last year's tech conference, referring to her merely as one of our research team members. In her office, Kira pulled out her phone and sent a text. It's happening. Friday is my last day. The response came instantly. Perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details. She smiled and looked at the calendar. Today was Wednesday. She would walk out on Friday. And on Monday, she'd start a revolution. That evening, Kira met Gregory Sullivan at Meridian, an upscale restaurant. Cloaked in mahogany and shadow, the private alcove was tucked behind Japanese screens, a haven for whispered strategy. They did it, Greg said as they sat down. Unbelievable. I suspected they might, but to cut the very person who built their backbone? Victor never understood what I created, Kira replied. He saw a product. I saw architecture. The patent is solid, Greg assured her. Our legal team triple-checked it. The improvements you made, the development logs, the timestamps, it's all airtight. He slid a folder across the table. Once you sign this, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive rights to your patent. The press release will be sent out on Monday morning. You start as Chief Innovation Officer. Kira reviewed the documents, even though she knew every word. She signed with deliberate calm. Victor's face when he reads that release. Greg mused. I'm more concerned about my team, Kira said. Already handled. Positions for all 6 of them. Senior roles. Big raises. Kira raised her glass. To new beginnings. And to owning your value. Thursday and Friday blurred. Exit interviews. Farewells. Rumors. Quiet nods from colleagues who knew she deserved better. She left behind meticulous documentation, not out of kindness, but for legal record. Everything was prepared. During her final interview, Denise pushed the NDA toward her. You understand that all intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of TechVantage? Of course, Kira said, emphasizing anything developed within the scope of my employment. Using company resources. During company time, Denise checked boxes. You affirm you have no copies of proprietary information? I have taken nothing that belongs to TechVantage, Kira said truthfully. Marjorie stopped by as Kira boxed her belongings. I just wanted to make sure everything's clear. Crystal, these restructuring decisions are never personal, Marjorie said. Victor wants a more youthful direction. Kira met her gaze. Business is business. Marjorie hesitated. She sensed something, but dismissed it. Will you be taking time off? I start Monday. A leadership position. Very exciting. Shock flickered across Marjorie's face. Well, good luck. Kira walked out of TechVantage's glass palace with a single box and a steel heart. On the top floor, the executive conference room buzzed with evening meetings. She imagined them discussing how to split her workload. In less than 72 hours, that room would host a crisis instead. Monday arrived, bright and crisp. At 7:30 a.m., the Precision Systems town car pulled up. Her new office waited. The press release is live, Greg informed her as she arrived. Reactions are flying. The headline read, Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary algorithm. Appoints creator Dr. Kira Jennings as Chief Innovation Officer. Her phone buzzed at 9:15 a.m. Complete chaos here. What did she do? It was Miguel, her lead developer from TechVantage. She smiled and texted back, check your email, all 6 engineers had offers across town. Victor Lawson walked into a firestorm. Board members were dialing in. Legal was panicking. Stock dipped. The algorithm they thought they owned was gone down to T1045. Victor emailed her directly. Kira, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me. She forwarded it to Precision Systems Legal.by noon. Industry blogs buzzed. TechVantage stock was down 7%. Precision Systems up 12%. Greg stopped by. How do you feel? Validated. Her new assistant appeared. Dr. Jennings, the development team is ready. Also, TechVantage's CEO has called for times. Let him know I'm in meetings. Our legal team can reach out. Another message from Miguel. Victor looks like he's going to explode. My team and I accept your offer. When can we start? By Tuesday, it was clear to everyone. TechVantage had lost the one asset they couldn't replace. Tuesday morning began with a quiet hum in the executive wing of Precision Systems, but inside Kira Jennings' new office, the atmosphere was anything but quiet. The lights from the city still glimmered through the glass walls, but all her focus was on the massive touchscreen monitor on her desk. The dashboard displayed system performance metrics, staff onboarding status, and real-time mentions of Precision Systems across the tech media landscape. The numbers were telling a story, and it was hers. Dr. Jennings, her assistant Elise, said as she knocked lightly and stepped in. The new hires from TechVantage have arrived. They're ready in the strategy suite. Kira stood, adjusting the sleeve of her blazer. Perfect. I want them fully briefed by noon. We hit the ground running. As she made her way down the corridor, Kira's phone buzzed again. Another ping from her media alert service. TechVantage crisis deepens. Precision's power move reshapes the market. The headlines were pouring in. Industry insiders, financial analysts, and software developers across the globe were dissecting what was quickly becoming known as one of the most high-profile poaching and patent shakeups in the tech world. The elevator doors opened onto the Executive conference floor. 6 familiar faces looked up from glossy briefing folders. Miguel, Anita, Jun, Dav, Priya, and Hassan. Miguel was the first to smile. "Boss, welcome to your new home," Kira said, walking to the head of the table. "Let's get to work." Back at TechVantage, the tension was growing unbearable. The boardroom had been repurposed as a command center. Walls once adorned with inspirational mission statements now displayed hastily scribbled notes about legal recourse, development options, and potential PR strategies. Victor Lawson was pacing. "I want answers," he snapped. "How could we miss a patent this big?" General Counsel's voice was strained. "The employment contract had standard language, but we overlooked the fact that she was refining the algorithm off hours. The timestamps on her logs are airtight, then discredit the logs. They're notarized. Independent digital ledger. Blockchain timestamps. It's bulletproof." Victor slammed his fist on the table. The room fell silent. Meanwhile, Denise from HR stared blankly at her tablet. Her memory played over the severance meeting. The calm way Kira had responded. She emphasized phrases like "during company time." The signs had been there. They just hadn't recognized the storm. Kira had been quietly engineering .at precision systems. Kira's first strategic session with her former team was in full swing. On a massive digital whiteboard, she outlined phase 2 of the rollout plan. For her algorithm, an adaptive architecture that could support real-time processing at scale across industries far beyond accounting. "We're not just refining AccountSphere," Kira said, tapping a node on the model. "We're evolving it. Think healthcare, energy grids, even national infrastructure." Dev leaned forward, intrigued. "No one else is even close to this level of cross-industry adaptability." "Exactly. Because we know the architecture better than anyone else. We built it," Kira said. "And now, we build something better." Miguel pulled up an integration simulation on his laptop. "What about the runtime architecture? You mentioned a new modular system?" "Yes. I designed it last winter, before the board started sniffing around for layoffs. It's clean, faster, and completely decoupled from their legacy structures. By the time TechVantage even thinks about replicating it, we'll already be onto version 3. The room buzzed with energy. This wasn't just a team, it was a mission. That afternoon, Greg appeared at Kira's office door, holding 2 coffees and an excited glint in his eye. "We just got word from DataCore. They're dropping TechVantage and want to move to our platform." Kira accepted the coffee. "That's their 3rd largest client. Now they're ours." She allowed herself a small smile. It was working. Her rise wasn't just about reclaiming what had been taken. It was about rewriting the rules. "Oh, and Victor just went live on CNBC." Greg added. "You'll want to see this." Kira walked to the large screen mounted on the wall. The broadcast was already in progress. Victor was visibly rattled, with a sheen of sweat on his brow. "We are fully confident in our ability to develop new proprietary tools that maintain our competitive edge," he declared. The interviewer pressed. "Is it true that TechVantage is now licensing its flagship technology from its former employee?" Victor paused, jaw tight. "We are exploring all strategic partnerships," Kira snorted. "Strategic partnerships. That's one way to describe losing your entire engineering team and your intellectual property." Greg raised his coffee. "To strategic partnerships." The next few weeks blurred into a sprint. Precision Systems released their early access platform to a select group of enterprise clients. The feedback was immediate and glowing. Performance benchmarks shattered expectations. Beta users reported massive improvements in processing speed and data accuracy. Meanwhile, TechVantage floundered. One by one, major clients defected. Internal morale plummeted. Developers posted vague, ominous updates on LinkedIn. And then, finally, the board acted. It was Miguel who broke the news via group text. "Victor's out. Emergency leadership transition. Marjorie, too. The head of legal has gone." Greg burst into Kira's office minutes later, waving his phone. "It's confirmed. Richard Donovan is the interim CEO. He just issued a statement calling for rebuilding trust through innovation and transparency. And get this, he name-dropped you." Kira raised an eyebrow. "He did?" "We recognize the invaluable contributions Dr. Kira Jennings made to our history and the future of this industry. We hope to move forward with integrity." She leaned back in her chair. For the first time in years, she felt not vindicated, but powerful. The meeting request came later that day. A direct email from Donovan. "Dr. Jennings, congratulations on your new role. I'd like to meet and discuss a formal licensing agreement. We're prepared to publicly acknowledge your contributions and make amends." She forwarded it to Greg and their legal team. Phase 2 just turned into Phase 3. She said aloud. Greg's response was instant. "Beautifully played." Monday morning arrived with a cool wind sweeping over the bay, but inside the polished glass tower of Precision Systems, the air felt electric. Kira Jennings stepped into the main strategy hub, where her innovation team had already gathered. On the curved wall of the war room, live charts flickered user growth, processing speed, performance, and competitive benchmarking. At the center was a bold headline: "Tech Vantage Board reshuffles leadership amid patent crisis." Miguel looked up from his tablet. "They're bleeding faster than expected. 3 more enterprise clients pulled out this morning. They're not even waiting for the quarter to end." Kira nodded. "We're entering the window where leverage becomes irreversible. Let's be ready." Greg joined moments later with fresh coffee and a tight smile. Legal finalized the licensing offer terms for Tech Vantage. "Want to review before we send them over to Donovan?" She scanned the document. "Leave the royalty clause as is, but adjust the implementation support. Will give them 3 consultants for integration, not 5. Make them feel the trade-off." Greg chuckled. "Subtle, painful. You're good at this. I've been trained by the best sharks in the business." Kira replied, eyes sharp. "Now they'll learn what it's like to swim without me." Across the city, Richard Donovan walked into the charred remains of what once was Tech Vantage's proudest division. The mood on the executive floor was desolate. Denise from HR had resigned that morning. 2 department heads had updated their LinkedIn statuses to open to work. Richard turned to his acting legal counsel. "Have we heard from Precision's attorneys? They sent terms an hour ago. The licensing fee is triple the industry standard, and they're only offering partial implementation support. But they're willing to begin negotiations immediately." He sighed. "Let's move. I'd rather face Wall Street bruised than bankrupted." Later that day, Kira stood at the head of Precision Systems' main boardroom, addressing a closed-door session of the company's leadership. "We now control not just the architecture behind AccountSphere, but the future of distributed enterprise processing," she said. "With our new enhancements, we can move into energy systems, supply chain logistics, and even medical data platforms." The room was silent. Greg broke it. "Our board has already approved the next round of funding. You'll have every resource you need." Kira's confidence wasn't just palpable, it was infectious. Around her, once timid engineers were proposing audacious solutions, and conservative stakeholders were now her biggest advocates. The meeting ended with unanimous support. Kira walked out to find a message from Miguel waiting on her phone. "Donovan accepted the terms. He wants a press conference in 2 days. They'll acknowledge you as the sole inventor publicly." Kira didn't smile. She exhaled. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. The next morning, headlines screamed, "Tech Vantage signs licensing deal with Precision Systems, credits former employee as key inventor." Industry blogs exploded. Analysts speculated on whether Tech Vantage could survive long term. Kira received hundreds of messages. Some young engineers thanked her. Others, from executives now desperately seeking her insight. But one stood out: a simple email from her father. "Kira, I read the news. I know I didn't understand your world, but I'm proud of you." It stopped her cold. For a moment, the whirlwind of corporate chess and legal victories faded into something more personal. She closed her office door and let herself feel it. At the press conference, Donovan began with solemnity. "Today, Tech Vantage acknowledges the original work of Dr. Kira Jennings, the inventor of the distributed processing algorithm that has driven innovation across our flagship product. We were wrong not to recognize her contributions earlier." The press pool turned to Kira. Cameras flashed. I'm grateful for the recognition, she said, her voice clear. But today is not about the past. It's about what comes next for our industry and for all the innovators who've ever been told they weren't enough. Greg stood just behind her, arms folded, a proud grin playing at the corner of his mouth. As evening fell, Kira stood alone on the roof of Precision Systems. The city sparkled below. Miguel appeared beside her. You did it, she nodded. Not alone. But yes, they can't rewrite me out again. What now? She turned to him. Now, we build a future where that's true for everyone. 1 year later, the skyline outside Kira Jennings' window shimmered with the soft gold of early spring. From the 37th floor of Precision Systems headquarters, she could see the city humming below, bustling, forward moving, alive. Much like the company she'd helped resurrect, her calendar was full, but she paused to reflect as she prepared her keynote presentation for the upcoming Women in Technology Leadership Summit. The invitation had arrived weeks earlier, titled simply, Owning Innovation, a Fireside with Dr. Kira Jennings. Her assistant, Elise, knocked gently and entered. The development report from your innovation leads is ready. And Richard Donovan confirmed he'll be attending the summit. Also, this Just in Tech Vantage is shuttering to legacy divisions. Kira looked up. Which ones? The Research Hub and the Old Product Ops division. Kira absorbed the news silently. Those had been the foundation blocks of the company she once gave 15 years of her life to. Now, relics. She closed her laptop and stood. Let's get the team together. I want them to see this. In the main conference room, Kira stood at the head of a long table surrounded by familiar faces: Miguel, Anita, Jen, Dav, Priya, and Hassan. A year ago, they'd been boxed out of Tech Vantage, discarded like spent tools. Today, they were leading innovators in one of the fastest growing tech firms in the nation. They closed the old research hub, Miguel said, glancing at the update on the digital board, which means we've outlasted the very department they claimed we were too outdated to lead. Kira replied. Anita chuckled. The irony isn't lost. It never was, Jen added. But legacy is more than a job title or a product. It's impact. Kira looked at each of them. You all built something with me that reshaped an industry. And it doesn't stop here. I want us to think beyond platforms towards systems that solve real-world problems. Healthcare, climate science, and education access. We don't just optimize. We lead. Heads nodded. Ideas sparked. A new roadmap began to form. 2 days later, Kira walked onto the main stage of the Leadership Summit to a standing ovation. She paused, letting the applause settle, scanning the crowd. She saw young developers, seasoned executives, venture capitalists, and wide-eyed interns. All were watching her. I was once told that experience wasn't as valuable as youth, she began. That innovation belongs to the loudest in the room. But what I've learned is that innovation belongs to the most persistent. Laughter and applause followed. She shared her story not to shame Tech Vantage, but to illuminate the systemic ways industries fail to protect their innovators. She showed slides of her development logs, time-stamped diagrams of her algorithm, and the power of documentation. Then she pivoted. But legacy isn't built by revenge. It's built by vision. Precision Systems didn't just give me a title. They gave me space to think, to create, to lead. That's what every company should be striving for. She ended with a quote projected behind her. Own your value before someone else claims it. The audience erupted. Cameras flashed. Social media exploded with the hashtag #OwnYourInnovation. Later, at the summit's gala dinner, Richard Donovan approached her. That was one hell of a keynote, he said. I don't think Tech Vantage will ever stop living in your shadow. They don't have to, Kira replied, swirling her wine. If they learn from the failure, they can build something new, something better. He offered a handshake. No hard feelings then? None. As long as the next Kira who walks through your door is treated better than I was. He nodded solemnly. I can promise that, by the end of the quarter, Precision Systems had launched a new initiative, the Innovators Shield, a legal, financial, and mentorship platform for in-house creators to document, protect, and profit from their work. It became an industry model, Tech Vantage, under Donovan's continued leadership, adopted similar policies publicly and credited Kira's story as inspiration. On the first anniversary of her appointment as Chief Innovation Officer, Kira stood once more at the edge of her office, watching a team of young engineers testing drones on the rooftop across the street. Greg stepped in, holding a sleek envelope. Another invite. This time, the Global Technology Forum in Zurich. They want you to headline. Kira took the envelope, but her eyes were on the horizon. Let's make sure we bring the whole team this time. They've earned the view, Greg smiled. To legacy then? No, she said, turning back to him with a quiet, unwavering certainty. To the future we haven't imagined yet.